Hello guys, I just finished Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I got it on Ubisoft subscription. Um, just wanted to talk about the game, kind of like a review, not really. I've just made some bullet points of the things that I think are quite important if you're planning on playing the game. Things that might interest you or might even decide if you want to get the game yourself if you haven't already or not. Um, so yeah, and I will keep some examples and everything in the video here of what I'm talking about. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. So Prince of Persia is a side-scrolling platforming metroidvania style of game. Um, when it comes to choosing a difficulty, now full disclosure, I did finish the game on Warriors difficulty, which is normal difficulty. Personally, because I don't enjoy when games are extremely, well, I don't want to say too difficult because it depends, right? Like for example, for me, if the game's difficulty only includes that the enemies become sponges, like damage sponges. I don't enjoy that, so I try to avoid that. So most of the time I will play my games on normal unless I really enjoy the game. Then I will bump up difficulty higher. Um, so just to let you know, everything I'm going to talk about is based on normal difficulty of the game. If you go lower, I can't talk for that. If you go higher than that, things might change. Um, so just keep that in mind. However, there are lots of difficulty customization options. You can customize pretty much every aspect of the difficulty separately. So if you want more health and enemies have less health, you can do that. If you want, you can choose a guided experience or a not guided one, which basically just means that what it will show you, it will give you a marker for a guided one. It will give you a marker of where to go, where is your main quest, so you don't have to run around aimlessly, not sure where to go, going to places where you're not supposed to be in. Now the tutorial when you start the game, I think the tutorial is pretty cool, easy to understand, nothing that you can get stuck on. I think the very first boss they give you to fight is scripted boss, so if there's a part where you are supposed to click something, um, they will pause it. They will pause the game for you. They will put a prompt on the screen, press this and this, or press this, and then the game will continue. Okay? Now, when it comes to the main character, Sargon is the main character's name. I really don't know what they were thinking with that name. I'm not the only one that thought about the name being weird. I saw plenty of people on YouTube, on Twitch, comparing or talking about the name, making fun of it. Because Sargon
Got him!
is, you know, I think you know what I mean. Anyway, let's move on. Don't want to make those jokes. Um, Now, there is a system in the game called memory shards, which I thought they were extremely cool way of putting um, markers on the map. A lot of the Metroidvania style games that I have played personally suffer from one thing that um, at least I think it suffers from it, is when you encounter something that you're not quite ready for, or there's a chest that you can't reach, or some kind of collectible that you can't access yet, you can't mark it, or you have a generic marker, like a question, or like a question mark, or exclamation point, or some kind of face, or whatever, and and then you leave and you come back 5 hours later. You're looking at your map and you're looking at that icon and you're like, what the hell did I put there? Like, what did I leave there? What's there? I'll go check it out. And then you go to check that place out, only to find out that you still have no access to that item because you just couldn't remember what it was. However, in Prince of Persia, they added sort of like screenshots. So you hold down a button, it makes a screenshot of that area. So next time when you go into your map and you mouse over or go over that icon, it will show you the screenshot of that area. So you can see like, oh yeah, I remember now. There was a chest up there and I couldn't reach it because I don't know, I couldn't jump high enough, or I couldn't jump far enough, or there was a door blocking it. It makes it very easy to remember, and then you think, oh, okay, so I probably still can't get that because I didn't receive anything that would let me overcome that obstacle. So I thought that was extremely cool feature that I haven't seen in any other game. I hope more games like that implement it. Next would be hidden walls in the game. There are those, like in Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, where you would hit a wall and then it would disappear and you enter a secret area to claim a chest or whatever it is. Uh, there are those. You have usually well, it can be anything. It can be collectible, it can be a chest, it can be an amulet, a power up, anything. Um, if you there is an amulet that you can equip in the game that gives you a bird that follows you throughout the game. If you get near one of those hidden walls, the bird will fly to the wall and hover around it, so you know that you can hit the wall. However, if you don't equip the amulet, nothing is there to tell you anything. So you would have to basically walk around and hit every wall possible to figure out, right? So that's something to keep in mind, that there are hidden walls in the game. Um, there are definitely some ways to cheese the fight if you want to. I found a couple. Um, I don't think I found any with the bosses, but I definitely found with some enemies. I will put videos of those to show you what I mean by that. And yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. Um, it's just that some enemies literally can't attack down. So if you have multiple levels and you're attacking from below, they have no way to attack. They won't jump down, they won't attack down, they won't do anything. They're just kind of standing there, like moving back and forth, and then you can just hit them from below. Um, I encountered a couple of them. Now, the amulets that I was talking about, like with the bird amulet that helps you find the hidden items in the game or collectibles, um, think of it as Hollow Knight. If you have played Hollow Knight, you know that you get a certain amount of slots in the game where you can equip power-ups. And while in Hollow Knight, I thought when I played it that the power-ups were not, they were good, but they were not like uh extremely like, at least unless I'm remembering wrong, but I don't remember them like giving a huge advantage. Like that's it, like the game now I equip this power up and now the game is easy throughout. That's it. I don't remember any of those in Hollow Knight. However, in Prince of Persia, there's definitely some that make it, if you're playing it on normal, they just make it kind of easy, to be honest. There was one specifically that I have in mind, and that's an amulet that reduces any physical damage you receive. You can upgrade amulets. There's a blacksmith in the hub area who will upgrade your weapons and upgrade your amulets. Uh, when I upgraded that amulet to full, which is +2 only, by the way, I felt like the damage that was decreased was like more than half. Probably like 60-70% of the damage that I was receiving earlier was completely negated now. So yeah. So there are ways if you think like for example you're playing harder difficulty and you think, ah man, it's a little like I like this part of the difficulty, but I don't like the amount of damage that they do. Um, you can definitely do something about that with the amulets. There's in the hub, speaking of hub area, there's a very useful NPC in the hub area who will give you uh, challenges like a tutorial. And I can tell you one thing, I definitely 100% recommend you do them. At least the very first ones that they show you at the beginning, because when I started the game, I thought like, oh, okay, so this is attack, this is dodge, this is parry, blah blah blah. It's pretty easy, blah, and so on. And it's like, okay, combat is somewhat basic. And then I did the challenge tutorials, and it, it did a really good job to kind of expand on that basic a little bit more, and it made combat, I think, much more engaging and much more fun. Gave you options that I personally didn't even think about, that I didn't even know I could do them. And I think that it's a very cool thing that kind of sucks that they didn't explain it in the initial tutorial, because I think there's plenty of people who would see the challenges and they would be like, oh, okay, it's a tutorial. I already did a tutorial. I don't want to do it. And then they would move on, right? So, I would definitely recommend doing the challenges. There are some hilarious bugs in the game. Some frustrating ones too. Like, for example, one of the funny ones for me was when I had a boss fight. I just got my ass whooped because it was scripted in the game that you're supposed to lose to the person, and the game glitched out. I did something right before the cutscene, and that was it. Like, enemies were gone. I was teleporting everywhere in the cutscene, T-posing randomly. So the character that I was fighting uh, had like it was teleporting as well, completely disappeared off of screen. Many things like that I thought were funny. The game has many cool locations. There's definitely some visually stunning places in the game that you encounter, and you sort of like stop and you look and you're like, wow, like this is really cool. Um, it's it's a beautiful game. I think it's a beautiful game, even for a two like for a side scroller sort of game. Speaking of visuals, there definitely it has very cool moments in cutscenes, but it sort of definitely reminds you of something. You're always watching these cutscenes and you're thinking, man, that's like Dragon Ball, or oh my god, that's like a Naruto kind of thing, or uh, Azura's Wrath from PlayStation 3. There's some moments that are like, man, like I feel like they copied some of the stances and styling from those three, especially Dragon Ball, Naruto, and Azura's Wrath. That's my personal opinion. When it comes to power-ups, as you progress through the game, you will get feathers. So, like for example, you will get things like a dash in the air, a double jump. Um, what else? I'm blanking right now, but there's like movement abilities that you will get throughout the game as you defeat some of the main bosses, and at the end of the boss there's feathers. You will grab those feathers, you will get a power up. Those are throughout the whole game. You sort of, even on the last, like, let's say last 3 hours, I think, of the game, I got a new power up which made actually moving around much more easier and fun, in my opinion. um, so definitely new things keep opening up as you continue playing the game. It's never sort of like, oh, okay, well, that's it, this is your last power up. However, speaking of continuing throughout the game, enemy variety is definitely lacking. I think I I don't want to like throw out a random number, but I think there was definitely quite a few enemies that were just like, okay, well, I'm just kind of bored of killing the same things over and over again. They try to vary it out, but it's usually, if you enter like a new area, it's usually like one new enemy, and then the rest of the enemies are the same that you've been fighting before. But yeah, that's just, I mean, that's just how it is. I think very few games actually um, add like a huge variety of enemies. Like, for example, Lies of P. I never played it, but I heard that, and I saw that they have lots of enemies even towards the end of the game. How now there are no levels in the game, so you're not going to level up, like gain some certain amount of experience and then level up. Your power, your progression, everything comes from I want to say three or four things. So you can upgrade your weapon at the blacksmith. You can kill the bosses and you get some of the feathers, which allows you to gives you more mobility. Amulets are another big one, and then there are some where you will kill certain characters or bosses, and they will give you powers. And then you can equip two powers at the same time, which will consume your, I can't remember what it was called, ether, something like that. Anyway, it will consume a meter, and you will do like a special move. So those are the ways to gain more power. So there's nothing like levels where you can just like out level the enemies or the boss or the area and so on. So keep that in mind. The character of the game, the characters in the game do look interesting. I think there are some memorable ones for sure. I think Anita was pretty good. I'm not gonna spoil again. I'm just gonna be very vague about it. There's some characters that are very interesting. I will show some of them on the screen, and you will see um, a mixed bag, because there are some that are absolutely hilarious. There is one character who I'm pretty sure had an AI voice that you hear in like Twitch chat, like Twitch bot, when someone like donates or subscribes and then reads out a message. I will show you what I mean. But there's definitely some of those that just, yeah, that are just like, oh man, is that AI? And then there's one, the one in particular that sticks out in my mind that had absolutely horrible voice. Sounded like Batman from, the Batman movies. Where is she? When you scream, like what the hell was that? Like, I will show them as well, or that one as well. Um, so there's a mixed bag, but I think majority are definitely good when it comes to voice acting.
What do we have here? A traveler who seems to know the way, but is forever led astray. I can enlighten you. If you wish, I can light your way through some of Mount Koth's darkest corners, if you'll allow me.
How could I refuse? Thank you, friend. You are immortal. Death is your destiny.
You know, you're not the only one acquiring the Simorg's powers. You seem stronger, but not strong enough to save a friend yet.
There are interesting mechanics, and quite a lot of them actually as you progress through the game, to the point where I thought too much was happening by the hour, maybe 16. I beat the game total like 19 hours, with 74% completion, I think. So there were more things I could have done, but I finished the story. I did most of the map. I unlocked most of the map, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm done. But yeah, mechanics, there are a lot of them, especially movement, mobility. You're pressing quite a few buttons towards the end of the game to get around. There are some sort of like challenges, puzzles, where you are supposed to get through that, like a spike area without touching any of the walls, or the walls, the ceiling, or the ground. There's some walls that you can touch, but like ground and ceiling mainly you can't touch. So basically you have to get through the area without landing. If you do, you get reset back to the start of that area, and you have to repeat the whole thing again. So those were like, it was getting kind of challenging towards the end of the game. Puzzles are a thing in the game too. However, most are pretty basic and can be figured out relatively easy, without any help or whatsoever. However, there were a few of them that were not intuitive at all, at least in my opinion. And I had to, for one of them, I had to even Google the answer to the puzzle, because I got half of the idea right for the puzzle, but then the last bit I could not figure out. And actually, after I looked it up, I was like, there's zero shot I would have figured that out. There is nothing that would tell me or give me an idea that I'm supposed to do this thing to finish this puzzle, I guess. So yeah, but thankfully there's not too many of those. There are some overlooked problems of the game, and I think it's better if I just show you what I mean by that instead of talking about it. So just watch the screen. Anyway, new ways to get around the map keep opening up even in the late game. Like I said, yeah, I already talked about it. I don't know why I wrote that bullet point there, but you can. There's lots of ways to get around. But one in particular is like the best one, even for fighting and getting around. And I wish they gave us that sooner, because I think you have it for like the last 2 hours of the game or so. If you're going to the end, once you get it, like you're just running towards the finish line, which was in fact a problem for me. I actually got kind of bored by hour 16 or 15. I was like, okay, you know what? I just want to end this game. I just want to finish and get through it. So that's that. Let's see. Yeah, by the way, the movement. When I say like movement is kind of like there's lots of movement options, it can be like, especially those puzzle areas where you're not supposed to touch the floor or the ceiling. It can be satisfying when you pull them off, when you're like do like a bunch of combinations, like jump off a wall, dash into a double jump, into a grab onto this thing, jump further, drop down, and you're not touching anything, and everything has to be done in one go because there's no checkpoints. that can be satisfying as hell to pull off. So it's really good. I think that's extremely well done. However, where the movement, the mobility of the game was good, what I thought was lacking was fast travel. You do have fast travel in the game. Fast travel are statues that you sort of activate, and then you can, once you activate the statue, then you can travel between the statues that you have activated. However, those are very far between, and most of the time they were never, at least in my opinion, they were never convenient to teleport to. Or they were extremely out of the way. Like, I would already finish the whole area and I would think, okay, so how do I get back? And the only way to get back is either one, walk back, like literally backtrack, or two, teleport with those statues. But the statue would be literally out of the way of where I need to go next, so I would just end up actually just backtracking instead of going to the statue, because it was just very, very extremely inconvenient. The only time I think the statues in the fast travel is good is when you reach the statue and then you're like, oh, okay, I have enough currency where I can upgrade. So then you teleport back to the hub area, you upgrade, and then you teleport back to where you finished off. That was the only time when I thought it was convenient. Other than that, I really wish that I could just teleport to any of my whack trees. You know, like the bonfires of the game, let's just say that. Which you can't. So that kind of sucks. Okay, the graphics of the game are okay. It's nothing crazy or groundbreaking when it comes to character models. However, like I said, the backgrounds, the locations do look extremely good. There is one thing that I think is actually really great is attention to detail. Especially, I noticed it on my character. As I was progressing through the game, my character got dirtier and more beat up. You could see bruises, you could see cuts on the character. It really gave an idea, especially in one part of the game. I'm not gonna spoil it because actually it's a pretty big spoiler, but especially in one part of the game where you can easily see the difference between how you how do I put this? Like how you started the game and how you are at the current place. So that's something like that I found really cool. Of course, it doesn't add anything like crazy to the game. It doesn't like affect the gameplay. So it's just a small attention to detail that I thought was cool and was like I actually noticed. Death in the game. A lot of death in the game. I don't know how, like, the game is not difficult. It's just there's some parts that are extremely annoying where the enemy knocks you back into a pit, and then because you're fighting the enemy on a tiny platform and there's not much air place to move around. Archers in the game, oh my god, not the beginning ones that you encounter at the start, but like during like the middle of the game when you get like these crazy powered up archers, like they're freaking annoying. So that's, yeah, that was not fun. The most important, let's talk about the last bit. This is the last bit of something that I want to say, and then we'll just end the video here. Boss fights. Boss fights are, I think, great. I think they were intuitive, they were easy to understand, and not like, didn't feel like I was cheated most of the time. And I think I'm talking about the towards the end, there were two bosses that were extremely annoying. Yeah, there were two bosses that were extremely annoying, and I actually started to get frustrated, and I thought, look, this is not fun. I lose control of my characters. So okay, so most of the fights are interesting. There are some that feel unfair and not fun. You can lose control of your character in those, especially that one fight in the game, which can be extremely frustrating. Where a boss would do an effect like a fire thing or an ice thing on the entire ground, and if you did not dodge that, the initial attack, if you did not dodge it, you're just getting juggled up and down, up and down, and if you're low enough health, you can die from it, and you have no control over the over your character at all. So it feels extremely frustrating and extremely cheap way to die. Where, especially when in one of the tutorials that I was talking about earlier, they teach you that if you get knocked back and if you click a dash button at the right time, you can recover. However, most of the time that did not work for me. Most of the time I would get knocked back by the enemy or the boss, or being juggled in sort of like a loop, and that's it. I could not recover from it, and actually that boss killed me in that way. And I will show an example here because I don't think it's a big spoiler to see the boss, but I think it's extremely annoying the way he killed me. But thankfully there are only two bosses like that were frustrating for me personally. Another one was frustrating just because he was purely just running away. Like every single time I would get close to that boss, he would jump away and attack me from across a different screen of the an opposite end of the arena, and then I would go back and I would run to him, avoid all the shit that he's throwing at me, run back to him, and as soon as I get back to him, I get maybe one hit in, and then he jumps back to the other side of the screen. And it felt extremely stupid to fight a boss that just keeps freaking running away from you. So those were the only two bosses that I found extremely frustrating. The rest of them I think were great, fun, and actually enjoyable. So, last thoughts. Would I recommend the game for $50? Because let's face it, the game is $50. It's quite expensive. I would say yes if you love metroidvania style games. If you love those kind of games, 100% pick it up. I would, however, recommend just getting Ubisoft subscription, kind of like a Game Pass, and playing it, because the game is only 19 hours, maybe 25 hours if you finish everything. If you want to 100% it, probably you can spend 25 hours in the game. Once you get the subscription, I think it's $15 or $17 a month. So you can play the game. You will definitely finish it in 1 month, and then you cancel subscription, and that's it. And basically the game costs you $17. And because there's no multiplayer or there's no replayability really, you're probably not gonna touch it again after finishing it. So would I recommend to buy it? If you really want to, if you really like those style of games, yes, buy it for $50 if you have the money to spare. However, a better way is getting Ubisoft subscription. Yeah, and I think I will leave it at that for the most part. If you have any questions, if I missed something out, if I made no sense at some point, leave a comment. Let me know. I will have a look at them. I will try to answer any questions to the best of my ability. Remember, this is not like a review like IGN or someone like Angry Joe, or these are just my thoughts on the game that I played recently. And yeah, with that, I will leave you guys. Thank you for watching. Have a good night, good evening, wherever you are. And don't forget to like if you liked it. Don't forget to dislike if you didn't like it. Leave constructive feedback in the comments. And subscribe if you want, if you're interested in seeing more of these reviews in the future. See ya.